Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah ma ba'd. Question is asking here, there is a sister who went to a practitioner of sihr, using tarot cards and claiming to know the unseen, etc. And she genuinely didn't know that this was haram and that these people are using black magic, and she didn't know the hukam basically. Has she done something which is sinful? Will her salah not be accepted? In answering, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said in a hadith which is sahih, "Man ata arrafan fasa'alahu an shay." Anybody who goes to an arraf is a person who claims to know the unseen, and they ask that person, "Lam tuqbal salat arba'ina layla." Lam tuqbal lahu salat arba'ina layla. This person's salah will not be accepted for 40 days. In another hadith which is sahih from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, "Man ata arrafan أو ساهرا أو كاهنا." Arraf is a person who claims to know the unseen. Sahir is a person who's engaging in black magic with jinn and shayateen. And a kahin is a person who is like a psychic. يؤمن بما يقول. This person believes in what these people are saying. كفر بما أنزل على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Such a person has fallen into kufr. And it could be that that person has ejected the fold of Islam because of such a belief. So what's the ruling on this sister? Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah is saying now, going to a psychic or practitioner of black magic or a person who claims to know the unseen falls into one of four rulings. Number one, as we see in the second hadith that we quoted, the Messenger of Allah said, "Yu'min bima yaqul." If a person goes there and they believe what these people are saying, kafara bima unzila ala Muhammad. Such a person has fallen into kufr. So the first scenario and category, they believe in what these people are saying. This is kufr, and their salah will not be accepted. Now, is it major kufr, minor kufr, or there is further detail in that which we won't go into right now. Second scenario, if a person goes to them but doesn't believe, they are included in the first hadith, not the second hadith. The first hadith, "Man ata arrafan fasa'alahu an shay, lam tuqbal lahu salat arba'ina layla." If a person goes to them, they don't believe, just by going. They know that this person is a liar, but just by going and seeing what they've got to say. Now, by the way, the ulama include watching these things for the purpose of entertainment. People have shows where they display black magic, they have live demonstrations, they have, etc. This is included in it. If you watch these things, go to these people, the salah will not be valid for 40 days. But it is not kufr, because the person has not believed it. Ibn Uthaymeen is saying here, that's the second scenario. Third scenario, if a person watches it in order to test it, meaning, is this really kufr? Is this really black magic? Is this what they are saying? Ibn Uthaymeen and Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah has a similar categorization as well. Both of them have said that this is permissible. And the evidence for this is that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to look at Ibn Sayyad. Ibn Sayyad was a person who was known to deal in black magic in Medina at that time. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to look at him to see what he is doing. That doesn't take the ruling of a person going to them, believing in them, asking them, because the first hadith said, "Yu'min bima yaqul," they believe in them. The second hadith that we quoted, "Fasa'alahu," he's asking them, he's talking to them, what's your opinion? What do you think is going to happen? None of these things are happening here. Therefore, that becomes permissible, but just because it's permissible doesn't mean that a person should do that. We all know from studies and principles and usul al-fiqh, etc., that if something is principle, it could be a gateway towards something which is haram. But the reason why we're calling this permissible is that they don't fall under kufr and they don't fall under sin. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it is halal for a person to go and witness such things. Fourth and last scenario, if a person watches it to refute it, and he has the ability to refute it, then this becomes wajib. And the same evidence is used with the Messenger of Allah's interactions with Ibn Sayyad. The Messenger of Allah وسلم, went to him and he said to him, Ma ya'tik, what do you have? And he said, Ya'tini sadiq wa kadhib. A person who is truthful and a person who is not truthful comes to me with information. So the Messenger of Allah said to him, what do you see? He says, I see an arsh, a throne on top of water. And the conversation goes on. Now, this is proof with Ibn Taymiyyah and Uthaymeen to say, and others from the ulama, to say that if a person can eradicate and remove this person's fitna and forbid the munkar, then it becomes wajib for the person to do so. These are the 4 scenarios that have been mentioned by Uthaymeen. If you go there and you believe, kufr, and the salam will be valid. If you go there, don't believe, but just going for the sake of entertainment and watching and, killing time, whatever it might be, sinful, salam will not be valid for 40 days. A person watches it to see what is this person up to, not for the purpose of asking, not for the person believing. This is permissible, but like we've said, not necessarily encouraged. And the 4th scenario is that if a person watches it in order to refute it, this might be wajib. But this sister is asking a different question. She genuinely didn't know. Sheikh Salih Fawzan was asked this question, that a person has been to a person who is engaging in sihr and they had no idea that the sihr was being used. The Sheikh said that this person has no hukm on that person. There is no hukm because of the jahl, because of the ignorance. There is no sin, there is no kufr upon that person. However, if they were to repeat after knowing, then that is a different scenario. There's one last mas'ala which is connected to all 5 scenarios now. So we've got a scenario of kufr, we've got a scenario of sin, we've got a scenario of permissibility, and a scenario of wajib, wujub, and a scenario of jahl, and the person is excused by his jahl. 5 scenarios, but there's a 6th scenario or 6th hukm or mas'ala, is that if a person does something and they come back and they do the same thing again, does that carry a new ruling or is it the same ruling as the previous one? So for example, a person goes, may Allah protect us, to see a soothsayer or a psychic. They ask them, they believe in them, they go away. They've now committed kufr, may Allah protect us. Say they come back the next day and they do exactly the same thing. Has the ruling now changed? The answer is the ruling has not changed. Now you might think that is obvious, but when it comes to the issue of permissibility and wujub in those 2 scenarios, then it's less obvious. So for example, imagine if a person is watching this person doing sihr, and they're still not sure, is it sihr or not sihr? Is he messing around? Is it just illusions? Is it, smoke and mirrors? So he'll go away. He comes back the next day, and he sees him doing the same thing again, and he's still not sure. For this person to look at this person, like we have said, the ruling is permissible because he doesn't believe in him, he's not asking him anything. So the ruling has not changed. And the same thing when it comes to a person who wants to forbid the munkar, and it is wajib upon him to do so. So if he sees this person doing something, he goes away, comes back, sees him doing it again, the ruling has not changed. Now, this is important because a person could have it in the back of his head, oh, I saw him doing it yesterday, and they might doubt themselves now, oh, have I fallen into kufr, or have I not fallen into kufr, because the first time I didn't say anything. Okay, the second time I'm going to forbid the munkar, but the first time I didn't do anything. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah is saying that if a person watches it over again, the ruling doesn't change. It is the same ruling all the while, unless, as Sheikh Salih Fawzan is saying, unless the intention has now changed and the person is now aware or have got another purpose as to why they are watching it. So say for example, they're watching it first off in order to refute him doing the sihr. Next day they come, now they're looking at it for the sake of entertainment. I think it's quite clear now that the ruling has changed. But if the intention was to refute him, but they didn't get a chance to refute him, but then they come back and they refute him, the next day the ruling is the same. With this, we will say, inshallah, if the sister wasn't aware, then inshallah there is no hukum on her, but she's not allowed to do it again. It is safer for her to do tawbah and istighfar, but the salah, inshallah, will be valid, and inshallah she has not fallen into kufr. But if she knew, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, then she needs to make tawbah, because only tawbah can wipe out major sins. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He protects us and He saves us from kufr and shirk, and He keeps us upon Islam until we meet Him. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد.